Now, AfriForum is set to challenge the 5-year limit that is currently on driver's licenses. Of course, licenses have to be renewed every 5 years. Well, the civil society group wants the court to rule this to be unconstitutional. Let's hear now from Ernst van Zyl from AfriForum and find out why that is the case. He is the campaign officer for strategy and content at AfriForum. And Ernst, good morning to you. Appreciate the time. So a lot of people have been complaining about having to renew a driver's license every 5 years. The argument that I've been hearing, tell me if you agree, is it's not as though you're being retested. It's just you have to just pay money to be able to just get a new license. So tell me what your thinking is.
Absolutely, and the reason why the story is in the news again now is because the machine that prints the driver's licenses has broken down yet again. I think it's still fresh in South Africans' memories from last year and the catastrophic backup that this breakdown of this one machine has caused, and it seems like the government doesn't have the foresight to buy a second one. That's exactly why AfriForum is going to court in August this year, precisely the 7th and 8th of August, and we're going to be challenging exactly this renewal period for driver's licenses, because we had our legal team look at the National Road Traffic Act and regulations, the regulations surrounding it, and there's a lot of gaps, a lot of holes, and we actually found through our research and through looking at it, we realized it's standing on a foundation of sand. There isn't actually a very strong or solid case at all for having to renew your driver's license every 5 years, especially if you're young without any problems with your eyesight. I mean, that does come into play as people get older, but if you're in your 20s, I don't think that's a problem.
No, I think this is the argument as well. It's not as though you're having to take your car for a roadworthy test where you have to get that done every time you want to do something to your car or sell the car or whatever the case is. So what I'm hearing then, Ernst, is there's two issues to my mind. Unpack the second one for me. One is if you don't need to redo your driver's test, why must you redo your driver's license? That's what you're saying, unless your eyesight changes or something like that. The other issue is it's a bit of a schlep, isn't it? Especially now with this one machine gone as well. I mean, I'll be honest, I was driving on a temporary driver's license, was it last year or the year before? I think it was last year, for 8 months. I had to renew mine twice.
Well, that's the problem. It seems like the government cannot provide the circumstances where South Africans can just get their licenses so they don't have to be criminals when they drive. I mean, it should be a very easy process. You should go in. There can be a waiting period, but it shouldn't be months on months on months. I know people that waited 6, 7, 8 months for their driver's license. Some people have been waiting since last year, and it's the problems on the government side just keep heaping up, and you get to a point where you have to just think, the only way to solve this problem is to either extend the period of renewal or to scrap it altogether. And that's why we're going to court now later this year specifically for that reason. And it's, like you said, it's creating, not only is it wasting people's time, it's also becoming a problem for many people where if they can't get their driver's license renewed, there's all types of other admin that goes with it, which might end up putting you in a position where you're technically breaking the law, but you're a law-abiding citizen with no intention to break any law or any traffic law. But the circumstances have forced you into that position, and that's what we want to prevent.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk then about exactly what AfriForum is calling for, help me understand, is this a case of extending, because you mentioned extending the length that your driver's license is applicable for? Could that be 10 years, or are you asking for it never to be redone unless something physically changes, like eyesight, etc., etc.? Or could it be when you reach a certain age? And I don't mean to be ageist, but there is a point where maybe the older generation need to be relooked at for their driver's licenses. What's your limit then? Never ever have to do it again? Or is there a term of reference that you're looking at?
No, well, the main thing that we're looking for, among other things, is a declaratory order from the court stating that the 5-year validity period of the driver's license is unconstitutional. But at the same time, if the court were to give a verdict that it's not going to scrap this 5-year validity period, it's only going to extend it to 10 years or 15 years, then that would also be a victory. We would not be complaining in that regard either. So first prize that we are going for is specifically that declaratory order, but the court can always extend the period as well, and we'd be happy with that too.
Let me ask you this as a last question, but let's be very honest as well. Beyond the extending of it, this is quite the moneymaker for our Department of Transport in South Africa, isn't it? Whether it's having to actually get your license renewed or, as I mentioned earlier, I experienced last year, the repeated renewal of temporary driver's licenses, which is not free either. They're making some money out of this. So I imagine they're going to fight quite hard.
Yeah.
They're going to fight AfriForum quite hard, aren't they?
Oh, well, there's absolutely a monetary incentive here, and that's why exactly this in the first place we're seeing a lot of these problems. I don't think it takes a lot of speculation to see the connection between the money incentive and a lot of the problems that we're experiencing. Maybe just one final point there that's very important. This court case will be happening later this year, but the drivers of South Africa should not now go break the law. If you're pulled over by a traffic cop, you shouldn't be saying, well, driver's licenses are unconstitutional anyway. Wait for the court case to happen and see what the verdict is there. AfriForum does not encourage anyone now to go break the law just because this court case is happening later this year. I think that would be a critical point to emphasize.
Yeah, it certainly is a critical point. I'm glad you mentioned it because I probably would have forgotten to mention it as well. Don't blame AfriForum if you're pulled over and you're getting a traffic fine. They didn't say break the law. They say they're going to court later this year. Ernst, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. Ernst Van Sale, Campaign Officer for Strategy and Content at AfriForum.